Hey, everybody, how are you? Hey, Jimmy.
Hey, good evening.
How's it going?
It's going good. How are
Hey,
you?
Penny.
Hi.
And Charlotte.
Hey,
Our friends from the Great White North in Canada. Jimmy says the camera is a little bit bright, but I think we have the people from the Great White North. And they're shining and they're bright.
That's it.
Maybe these are the Northern Lights.
Could be.
Anyway, this is the world famous and becoming more famous Will and...
Jimmy Show.
Say that one more time.
All right.
The Will and...
Jimmy Show.
Now you say it with us. The Will and Jimmy Show.
All right. Yeah.
Okay, our friends have been here with us for the last, 10 days or so now? And you're returning back home on Friday of
Yes,
this
we
week. Okay. So we will miss you. We appreciate all that you have done to bless the people here on the streets at Shades of Grace and
Yep.
coming along and just being a bright spot for each of us who work here.
It has been our pleasure.
All right.
We have enjoyed every minute of it.
Okay.
Very humbling experience.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
I had someone call this morning and ask if our Canadian friends were going to be on the show again this week. And I said, yes, one more time. He said, all right.
All right. Okay.
They enjoyed that.
Was that
last
Ken?
night. It was Ken, yeah.
Hey, Ken. Jimmy told me you had called, and we're praying for you as you undergo through the chemo, and we miss you, and we love you.
Yes.
And so please know that. It was so good to know that you had called in today.
Yes.
Okay, we always do a little bit of shop talk here, I guess, and Jimmy fills us in on what kind of a weekend we have been through. Were y'all kind of worn out after the weekend?
Not too bad.
Not too
A
bad.
little tired, but not bad. We just, it was humbling
Yeah.
and a blessing to be
Okay.
able to attend the service
Yes.
for, it truly was.
Okay, Jimmy, fill us in here a little bit.
Well, I guess we need to start with our Saturday morning worship
right.
service.
Yes.
And boy, we got Pastor Will, didn't we? We sure
Yeah.
did.
Oh, we did.
I was literally speechless. You actually took me one time when I didn't have anything to say.
Yeah, and I don't think I've ever seen that happen before. That's what I told Ken on the phone. I said, I don't think I've ever seen him as speechless.
I was.
And then, it even kind of, you came back up later, and still, you were having a hard time just kind of,
Yeah.
so that's exactly what we intended to
They
do.
really pulled some strings around me to get that done.
But you know what I thought was really neat? When Steve got up and said this is the new Steve and Jimmy show, I said it out real loud, and I didn't hear anyone else. I couldn't hear down below because I'm up in the booth. But when I watched it on Sunday, I bet you 10 or 15 people said, Jimmy show, real loud. I thought, wow, people are really watching us.
All right, there we go.
Well, this is going to be international before you know
Yes.
it,
Well, go ahead and tell us
And,
what went on.
So this is October. October is Pastor Appreciation Month.
Yeah.
So we put
Thank
together...
you, everybody.
Thank you to everybody who submitted videos, and just to say a word of encouragement, thank you to Pastor Will, and came out really good. Even Grace the dog had something to
Oh,
say.
didn't she really
That was amazing.
turn
It
some
was,
flips?
yes. And so that was good. And then right after, we had our group from West Virginia, from Grace Christian Fellowship Church,
Yes.
and Feeding with Grace food truck was here to
Yes.
provide meals. And I didn't make it up there, so you can kind of tell, Pastor Will, you did
Yes.
a little bit more about what went on there.
Well, our friends from Grace Christian Fellowship have a ministry called Feeding with Grace. And this was their first experience of leaving Huntington. They do a ministry to the homeless in their city of Huntington, West Virginia. And they do that well, and they do it often. But this was the first time they've actually come out of state. And it's about a 4 to 5 hour trip for them by the time they stop. And, when you're traveling with a group of 20 people. But this was their first experience, and they truly expressed the same feelings that you have expressed, feeling of humility and gratitude. And certainly we enjoyed having them in our worship service.
Yes.
But they served the folks. The thing that impressed me, their groups were gathering around various homeless folks and people who came for food and praying for them and literally praying with the people. And I tell them sometimes that's an element that is just as important as giving someone something when they're hungry.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So it was a beautiful ministry.
Yes. It was good to have them join us for the first part of the
Yes.
service. They had to leave early to
And-
get everything prepared.
Yes, and their song director, Tim, was the first time he's been here, but he was up leading the singing
That
off
was
my way.
wonderful.
Yeah.
But didn't he look right at home? I mean, he looked like he'd been here
Yes.
forever.
Yes.
Yeah.
And everybody responded.
Yeah.
It was
And let's
wonderful.
not forget to mention that our Shades of Grace band, Landon and Jeff and Quinn and Tim,
Yeah.
all prepared special music for Pastor Appreciation.
Yes.
And you didn't know this until later, but they normally practice about 10 to 10:30
In here in the building.
right before we start the service. They couldn't do that this week because they didn't want Pastor Will to know the songs. So they practiced in Landon's apartment, and it looked like they were just running late. They showed up.
But as
late.
you know, Landon only lives 10 steps down from us.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
right here next
So
door.
they were very secretive about it too. But boy, the music was just
It
wonderful.
was excellent,
It was
wasn't it?
Oh, it was
wonderful.
beautiful.
Don't you think we
really
have the
was.
best band in Texas?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
They're wonderful. They sing so good together.
Yes.
Yes.
They harmonize
yes.
nice.
And then after the Feeding with Grace event, we headed up to Emmanuel Cemetery. I said community campus out of habit, but up to Emmanuel Lutheran Cemetery for our community interment service we do once a year. What do we have? 16.
We buried
remains?
16 people this week, this
Yes.
past Saturday,
And
which brought it up into the 80s as far as the number of persons we have buried
yes,
in Emmanuel.
and had probably our largest crowd this year. Perfect weather, beautiful scenery, wasn't it? The leaves and stuff were just gorgeous. Speaking of that, I'm going to put a video in here now while we're talking about this.
Yes.
This video is from Miss Bell's son, Billy Sells.
Sells.
Billy brought his drone and took some really good footage up there right before the funeral started.
Oh, no.
And
Yeah.
not 5 minutes or so before the processional pulled in. So this is what you're seeing now. So thank you, Billy, for that.
Yeah, Billy, that was a great, beautiful job. And
Yes.
we were just so excited to see that. And then the Times News sent one of their reporters to the event, and that was covered on Sunday. Did you all see that in the Sunday paper?
We didn't.
The
but-
Sunday Kingsport Times?
No, we
Jimmy hasn't seen it. Steve hasn't. A lot of people don't buy the newspapers now. Almost everything you do is virtually online. But anyway, she did a beautiful job, and Shades of Grace made the headlines on the front page of our the city paper, the Kingsport Times News.
Well,
and-
we'll see it then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll try to get a copy of that.
Yeah, we'll see what maybe we can
And-
do about that.
Yeah, and she had lifted out an excerpt of something I said, and the very top, if I'm not mistaken, all the way across the paper in bold letters, she was quoting me, "Every person that lives is a child of God." And that was the headline for that.
That's
But she did a great job, and then she linked Jimmy's video into her article in the paper. She put a link. And we've had well over 5,000 people view that video as of right now in the past 72 hours.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
We're a little over 5,300. Today's Tuesday, so as of Tuesday, we're over 5,300.
Yeah.
But if anybody out there that's watching does have a copy of Sunday's paper laying around, we would like to have
Yeah,
one.
bring it to us, please.
Yes, or call. We'll get it picked up some way, somehow. We'll arrange it.
And you know, I can call the Times News and see if they'll give us a few copies.
yeah, sure, that would be
Yes.
great. Because I didn't know. My I don't remember who told me. He said, "Saw y'all in the paper." And I was like, "Uh-oh." You know,
What we do?
what happened? You know.
Yeah.
You know.
But that was great. And, you know, everything that's happened here in the past 8 years now, into our 9th year at Shades of Grace, has happened in such a way that no one person can take credit. Only God.
Right.
Only God can do what happens in this place every day. There's no other explanation.
Absolutely.
The miracles that happen day after day.
It's the only way we can keep going.
Yes,
It really is. Because many days are hard.
yes.
And it's not necessarily hard. I mean, some days are hard
It's
physically.
mentally and
It's
emotionally
mentally,
hard.
right. It's hard not to get connected
Yes.
at times. You know,
When the
to
people come so much in turmoil and literally hopeless. I mean, we meet people here whose lives are absolutely in a total wreck, and I can't see anything ever coming good out of it, the way they're in such a mess, you know, and legally and with felonies on their record and all the things that happen. But we know that God can do all things, and so we try to point people to the Lord and allow God to do what God will do. But it's tough, and we have to just kind of distance ourselves emotionally and mentally from that.
Yes, and it's hard sometimes. Yes. And it's getting, the housing crisis is only getting worse. You know, we were talking about this earlier last week. The calls we had of people who are 2-3 months behind in rent.
One man yesterday is 6 months behind.
Yes, and there's just
imminent eviction, more homelessness,
and there's no way to avoid the eviction at this point. And even if there were a way, say if there were an agency that could step in and get them caught up to avoid that eviction, what are you going to do next month?
Because their rent is double what it was pre-pandemic, and when they're still on a certain fixed income of under that amount, there's no way that they will make it. And most of the rents have almost doubled, if not doubled.
Yes.
And this is a nationwide plight.
We get a lot of calls that asking, do you have any resources for rental properties? Do you know of any openings? And I always ask, what is your maximum? And some are saying $450, $500, and that just doesn't exist
You can't
anymore.
buy a closet for that. Do y'all have the same problem in Canada
we
now?
do. Absolutely.
It's happening there.
Yes, I have a son in Montreal, and he's living on his own, and his rent has tripled.
Tripled.
Yeah, he said, I'm still okay, Mom, because, with what he's making fairly good money, but you know what happens when you rent. He said, you rent and you feed yourself and a couple of small bills, and he said, right now I can get by, but he said, I won't be able to save anything.
Right.
Yeah.
So
for a rainy day, then, that it happens. We're just really facing some very uncertain days.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But we're serving a certain God
Yes.
who can do anything.
Yes. And so that was the weekend we had. We kind of got off topic there a little bit, but we did have a great weekend. Did you all enjoy the service, the interment service?
We did.
Oh,
yes.
It was so moving.
Yes.
It truly, truly was.
And you both got to take part in it and participate.
Yes, we
and
did.
that was great.
Doing that.
Yes.
I've lost a number in my family, like my mom, and 13 months later, my youngest brother, and 13 months later, my husband.
Wow.
And let me tell you, the year after that, my husband passed in 2006. When 2007 came, I was never so glad to see December gone. And I thought, how will we get through
Right.
this 13th month? And we did.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, there's an old song, when the time comes around, it says, if I make it through December. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah.
If I make it through December, I know everything will be all right come summertime. But
Somebody tell me who made that a hit. Anybody know?
well, I don't know. It wasn't Neil Diamond, was it?
No.
No.
Merle Haggard.
Oh, Merle.
Oh.
Merle
Was
Haggard.
it?
Yeah.
I was trying to think of who it was. I know it's a country music singer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Merle
If we
Haggard.
make it
Yes.
through December.
Yep.
Merle Haggard, that's right.
Okay, we got a couple of other things coming up. Not until November, I guess.
Right.
One of the more important things is Dr. Smitty and the Reedy Creek Band will be doing a live concert here on Friday Night Live,
Yes.
and everybody can come in. And then we also have the Nigerian Day in Shades of Grace, and we're going to have food tasting. You all will have to miss that.
Yes.
But the ladies from the Nigerian community are wanting to cook a lot of their native foods, and they're going to bring it. And then we have all these little cups with the lids, and they'll be able to pre-fill those in a safe way so as not to handle the food. And we'll distribute that out, and it'll be written on what is in the
that's
little
wonderful.
cup. So everybody will be able to take some Nigerian food home. So that'll be neat.
We have had, Pastor Will and I have had the honor twice now to have some authentic Nigerian food.
Yes.
And very impressive.
Yes,
Very
Uzoma.
impressive.
She had a birthday here a month or so ago, and she's from Nigeria. She oversees the Shades of Grace International, but she came here with a whole meal of Nigerian food to celebrate her birthday.
Oh,
So she shared with us
Yeah.
to celebrate her birthday. So
Very good.
Thank you, Uzoma.
Very good food.
Yeah.
Spicy.
A little bit spicy,
Learn the hard way. It was
Drink a
spicy.
lot of water.
Yes, but it was very good.
but not
So-
all of it is spicy.
Yeah.
Certain things
No,
are. But
the things that I liked were spicy. They didn't like me.
okay, Uzoma, lighten up on the spice just a little bit.
Well, and unfortunately, I will be here for church that morning, but I won't be able to stay for that event. My son has a birthday party, so I'll have to leave right after church and won't be able to stay around.
Well, I think what we're going to do, Jimmy, is we're just going to have it ready and we're not going to eat in the building. People are
Okay.
just going to pick up a container
Take it
and
with
take
you?
it with them.
Okay, well, that'll
Yeah.
work.
So,
So
yeah,
that works out good.
We feel that's still the best way, even though the pandemic has eased. We still had 30 people in our health system die week
Yeah.
before last with
Yes.
COVID.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean it's still with us,
Mm-hmm.
and we're still wanting to try to be as safe as possible.
Absolutely.
So we'll be having the food already prepackaged by the people from Nigeria, and we've got all the containers right here on premises right now, ready to be filled. And then people will just pick up a container, and it'll be written on there what it is. They take it home, and that way we don't have to clean up, and we don't have to worry about anybody contamination,
Right.
you know, with the virus or anything.
And those dates are Friday Night Live is November the 4th.
Yes.
And then the Nigeria service is Saturday morning the 5th.
And then what happens that night, Saturday night, the 5th or the 6th?
That's the time change.
I think the time changes
Yes,
that
it
night.
does.
In November, around the first week of
Yes.
November.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
the
so-
time goes back. So we'll gain an extra hour that we have wanted to gain for so long.
Yes. But
It's
we
so
lose
dark.
that hour of daylight, and I'd rather lose an hour of sleep.
When is that, in March or April?
Well, we lose that. Well, it starts getting dark with this time change. It'll be dark about 5:45 as soon as the time changes.
And with you, it's going to be dark at 4 o'clock,
Yes.
literally.
It makes for such a long
Yeah.
evening,
Yes.
I find.
I remember
That's
we were
what
talking
I
last
find.
week about when I was preaching there and it was snowing, and I remember literally at 4:15 in the evening that it was dark and the headlights were on and the school buses were dropping the kids
Oh,
off.
that would be
Yes.
so strange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be
So
really
yeah,
strange.
I remember that.
I do struggle with that. Like you get home and you think, okay, it's got to be 10, 11 o'clock.
Time to go to bed.
It's
I know,
dark.
you look, it's
5:30,
yeah.
you know. And
5:30.
it
Right.
takes them. But now when time changes again in March, I'm okay with that one.
Well,
I
I'll
have no
probably be
issues.
going to Israel, and then I'm going to lose 5 or 6 more hours
Right.
because they're
Yes.
on a different time zone.
Yes.
But it'll be
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, that's good. And
Okay.
then also, we haven't mentioned this yet, and I promise I'm working on getting this information out. It's just been so busy, there's not been a chance. But on Wednesday, November the 9th, we're going to have a flu shot vaccine.
Oh, that's right.
Flu
We're
vaccine.
going
clinic.
to give you the flu shot.
That's wonderful.
That'll be Wednesday the 9th
Yeah.
from 1 until 3.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, we need to start
need to-
letting people know. If you're out there and you haven't gotten your flu shot, they highly recommend it. And they will be here. They'll be free. And just come on out and get your shot, okay?
yes. So, all right. Well, if you notice, we're in a different environment this week.
We're back in the studio.
Yes.
We're in Studio A. Last week we were in Studio B. Or it should be C, confusion. Studio C for
I was going to say
confusion.
Studio Amen. There you go. But when I walked in here and was setting up the camera, I said, "Oh, we've got the Three Stooges in here."
Well,
Charlotte thought I was referring to all three of you, but this is what I was
this
talking
is really what he meant, and this is what they thought.
That's right.
But Steve
Yeah.
gave me this a couple of weeks ago. We were having a terrible, we've been through about 6 funerals in 1 week,
Yeah, that's
and
about
it's
right.
just
yes.
been so much happening here, and we had to take a break. And when we came back, Steve brought this, and the Three Stooges.
Yes, and down at the bottom, he had me to print that off. It says, "Never take yourself too serious."
Yeah.
And that's
Amen.
true. That's true.
Well, and if nobody else is taking us serious, why should we?
That's right.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, that was fun. That
Have
was
you ever
fun.
heard Steve do his rendition of Curly?
Yes.
Oh, I have it.
Yes.
He can do it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That-
Yeah. And he
Okay.
does the hand
Yeah,
snap
yeah.
thing. He's got that down.
And the moonwalk. You know, we always thought that Michael Jackson invented the moonwalk.
No.
Curly did on the Three
Yeah.
Stooges. Have you seen him do it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that three-step backward. Yeah.
Yeah.
Must have.
Yeah.
Yeah, he sure did.
Yeah, listen, this is what I found over here just a minute ago.
Right.
Have you heard of the Canada weather gear? I found this. Reach inside and
Probably a company.
reach inside and feel how warm that is.
Oh, yeah. How
Oh,
soft
that's
it is.
Feel that.
Oh, that's really warm.
Oh,
Yes.
that feels so
It
nice.
sure does. It
Let's
sure
see.
does.
Let's see how this fits here.
Hey, fits pretty
I'm
good.
hot already. I'm having a heat flash. Wow. But we found this over
But
here.
on the coldest day, it'll be nice for walking.
It will. Yes. And then I found these little socks, and I thought they were Canadian. But it says Gas Monkey Garage. Are you familiar with that, Jimmy?
It's a show, I think. Yeah,
Gas Monkey Garage.
Yeah.
Garage. Well,
Well, I don't know.
like some type of reality show.
But I guess you could use those for gloves, you know. And they come on the way up. So, see, I mean, I'm ready. Look,
there you. That's
I'm
right.
prepared. I'm getting prepared. Okay.
Gosh, you're burning me up.
I'm getting hot. Are y'all? Is it getting hot in
No, we're
here?
fine.
No.
I think it's your gear you got on, that Canada gear.
Okay. Now,
Pretty sure those are supposed to go on your feet, just to let you know.
hey, if we couldn't be silly, it wouldn't be the Will and Jimmy show.
That's right.
That's
That's
right.
right.
That's right.
Yes.
Okay.
Colder weather is
Oh,
coming.
guess what? Next week, I told Penny and Charlotte they're leaving just in time because it's going to be in the 20s next week here.
Yes.
And I did hear one of the long-range forecasts said around the 20th that there would actually be snow flurries.
Oh
So
my goodness.
it's getting that time.
Not looking
The
forward
trees
to that.
are beginning to look prettier. It seems like they're, I started to say blooming. In a way, they are. They're
Red.
coloring up every night, overnight. Have you
Yeah.
noticed it?
We
Yes.
noticed,
Yes.
Beautiful,
driving.
beautiful.
These
Yeah,
are
overnight.
these are the brightest colors I think we've had over the last few
Yeah,
years.
it's been perfect.
Because we had a lot of rain earlier.
Yes.
And it's really helped them be very
Rain and then cool nights,
Really
which
cool.
we're having, bodes well for color. So
Now, you know, today being Tuesday, so this is Wednesday that you're watching this. So later tonight on Wednesday, we're supposed to have some pretty strong thunderstorms and wind. So
Okay.
maybe start blowing some of those down.
yeah.
And it's time to get back to the yard work again.
Well, your leaves all pretty well be gone when you get home. The colors, will they still be there?
Oh, no, they'll be
I think
there.
there'll still be there some. Like
Okay.
my neighbor told me that all the leaves off my front and the tree in the front yard have fallen off,
Okay.
and my other neighbors were kind enough to rake them for me
Wow.
while I'm
Okay.
away.
Yeah.
So I'm truly blessed.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
So
Yes.
just on an average winter, how many inches of snow do you usually get?
Last year was
Oh,
bad.
I would say it's got to be a lot because the snowbanks are like they're usually way over your heads. Like
Right.
my little grandson, like, he can slide all the way down, like go like really up high, and you're almost equal to the roof of the house,
Okay.
and slide down it, and
Okay.
so it's
So you're in Sudbury
yes,
and you're in Brantford,
Right.
yes.
and there's about a 5-hour driving difference there, but you still get that off the lake, don't you?
We do, but sure, her snow lasts a lot, seems like a lot longer.
Yes,
than
when it comes
ours.
down, it's pretty
It
much there
stays.
for
For the duration.
yes,
Right.
yes. It might occasionally, you might occasionally get rain, and then it'll wash a little of it away.
Then it freezes and turns
it
to ice.
freezes.
Yeah.
That's right, and then you can just slide down
Yeah.
your driveway.
When do you get like your first average measurable snow?
Usually in November or December.
Okay.
We might get one snow in October or two snows in October, but sometimes that will actually melt.
Yes.
But once it starts to come down in November, it's cold enough, it's
It's there
not
to
going
stay.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and if you don't get any in November, occasionally we've not gotten that much in November, but by December, you almost know you're going to get some.
Yes.
If it hasn't snowed on Christmas Eve, it will snow. So
Right.
So you don't have to really worry about singing about a white Christmas.
no, it's no.
It's guaranteed.
There is.
Yeah.
There's never been anything but a white Christmas.
Okay.
Yes.
We
All
had
right.
one here 2 years
2 years ago, we had a
Yes.
beautiful white Christmas.
Very nice. Yeah,
But,
and that's unusual.
Yeah.
Very unusual.
Usually it's either a few days before and it melts or a few days after. But
Our little area here around Kingsport, you'll watch the radar and you'll see the snow coming. It looks like, oh, we're going to get it, and then right when it gets to Kingsport, it splits and just goes right
Goes
around,
around
us.
us,
Some
yeah.
people say there's a bubble around us, and I believe it because it's true. Like you and Pastor Will, you live a little bit further away. You always get lots more snow.
I can come in here and I have a
Kingsport.
lot of snow on my car and there'll be nothing here.
Yes.
And I only live in the gray area toward Jonesboro. But I'm high enough that, yeah, I get it when nobody else does. So,
Yeah.
and I like that.
We
The
just
sorry.
no, you're fine. Go
The
ahead.
very first snow I ever saw was when we lived in South Carolina, When I was a child, we lived there for maybe 10 years or something before we moved back to Virginia. But I remember it snowing, and I think it was right around Christmas. We were so excited.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't stay any time, but we were so
In South Carolina.
excited. In South Carolina.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's the only time that it ever snowed there.
Were you on the beach?
We weren't. We were about maybe 2 hours from the beach. We were in Great Falls, South
Oh,
Carolina.
Yeah.
Jimmy lived in South
I
Carolina.
lived in Conway,
Oh yes, yes.
and the last winter that I lived there, Myrtle Beach got almost 2 inches of snow.
Oh.
Almost 2 inches. I had just made a trip from Tennessee to visit my mother. Was sick at the time, and I'd come to visit her, and it was almost like the snow followed me in. It was actually really bad up around Spartanburg and Greenville. With a lot of ice. That area always got a lot of ice there at kind of the base of the mountain. But yeah, I got home and it followed me in, and it hadn't happened in like 40-some years had they had measurable
Right.
snow in Myrtle Beach, and it was the strangest thing. And you know, something that people don't think about is down there they're not prepared. You don't have salt. You don't have, you know, the necessary tools. So when snow comes or ice comes, literally, Walmart shuts down, McDonald's shuts down because people can't get to work. They're not
Oh my
used to
goodness.
that.
When McDonald's and Walmart shuts down, then you think it's Armageddon. The apocalypse.
Yes.
Well, there would be no snow tires, nothing to help you.
But it was very pretty. I did go out on the beach. I drove down and I had 4-wheel drive. Did have to use it once there at one point because it was just real slick. But I did go out and park and walk on the beach. Took some good pictures, and it was something to see the salt water come up and just hit the snow, because the most of the sand was actually, I wouldn't say 2 inches, maybe half an inch to an inch on the sand, but it was all covered in snow. But at that time it was probably 36, 38 degrees. It was not very cold, but just enough for it to stick around for a little while. Really beautiful. So, but I'm dreading it here.
Okay, so we're getting up
It's
to date
coming.
on our weather reports and all of this. We're
Well,
a
you know,
comprehensive program here.
the phone tree that you do every day,
Yes.
which if anybody's interested in receiving that, just give us a call.
Yes, it doesn't
And,
cost you anything.
Somebody said one time it was the weather report, because you start talking about the weather.
Yeah. Do you all get our phone tree?
Well, we don't, because I didn't know if it could come into
Yeah,
Canada
it can.
or not.
Sure,
yes.
And that's the only reason
Yeah.
I didn't ask.
Well,
for
you
it
can get
because-
signed up today.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah, we can do
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
Yes, but yeah, if anybody wants to be a part of that, I think we have about 160
Yeah, we do.
or so that get it every day.
Oh, we'd love to.
And
Yeah.
it's just a nice way to kind of keep caught up on what's going on. And you know, here recently, Pastor, you've started doing one on Friday evenings to invite everybody
Yes,
to church.
for church on
You
Saturday.
would think that I know that. And my phone ringing, it's Shades of Grace. I'm like, hey, Pastor Will. And one time you said hello.
Yeah.
You know, you did your pre-recorded message, and I thought, I hope nobody was watching me do that.
Yeah, but if you want to get our daily phone tree message, I try to do that 7 days a week.
Yes.
I mean, we really do. Holidays, Sundays, all. And it's only about no longer than 3 minutes.
Yes.
But I give you the date, sometimes a weather report, a verse of scripture, a comment or two, and a prayer. And let you know what's happening at Shades of Grace.
Right. All right.
Okay.
Well, before we get into our questions, I just want to remind everyone we still have T-shirts available.
Oh, yes.
And have just had to place another order because we ran out of some of the smaller.
We had a
larger
funeral
size.
here yesterday. Pretty good crowd for the funeral. And a lot of people decided they wanted to be Will and Jimmy's show
Yes.
followers.
Yeah.
So we really got rid of some of the T-shirts yesterday.
So I placed another order yesterday, and when these come in, we will have received over 500 Will and Jimmy Show
Yeah.
T-shirts. But we do still have some left, and we have plenty of stickers left over. I've been putting them out Saturday mornings for our service, but this week obviously we were a little busy, and I forgot to put them out.
Yeah.
But we have those here if anybody would like one.
Did you get your stickers?
Yes, we did.
And if we've mailed out a few, so if you can't get to us and you still would like one, just contact me and I'll make sure you get one.
Right.
We've got 4 to choose from. You can have 1, 2, 3, or 4, your choice, and we will send those out. And then, as with everything, with the shirts and the stickers, there's no charge. Those are a
Right.
gift from Shades of Grace.
Yes.
And all the people who graciously give to us and support this ministry.
Yes.
Thank you. And many of those are watching us tonight.
Thank you all.
Thank you. All right. It's that time. I've got the questions. Charlotte asked me earlier, trying to be real slick. She said, "Hey, would you like me to hold the trivia cards for you?" I almost handed them to her. All right. Okay. Well, and I'm going to say this. I'm very disappointed. We're 30 minutes into this video, and not one of you 3 mentioned me having to eat crow about being wrong about the mileage that we talked about last week.
Oh, okay. Fill us in.
So
We were hoping that well, we knew, but we thought
Yeah.
we'll just not
No.
say anything. But
well,
I have to too. Also,
yeah,
Jim.
I was what we had discussed the distance between. It's my comment was it's closer to get from Kingsport to the border in Maine than it is to drive from Kingsport to Memphis, but I was wrong, and my calculations were based on New Jersey, not Maine,
I remember he had told me about going to New Jersey,
and it was.
and I
Yes,
thought he's got his geography a little bit mixed
I did.
up.
So
We'll forgive you.
nobody. I figured that would be but right after the Will and Jimmy show was over, I got a text message from someone saying, "Nope, you're wrong." Guess who it was?
Penny.
Pastor Michelle.
Okay.
You were wrong.
She knows
Yeah.
everything.
She has Google.
She has Google.
But anyway,
Google
I
wouldn't even
was
tell me.
so I was wrong in that.
Okay.
I missed it by about 200 miles, so I was quite a bit wrong.
Okay.
But anyway, all right. Let's see here. Question number 1. This one is listed as hard. This is from the book of Acts, chapter 1. Who replaced Judas as the 12th apostle?
Do, do, do.
Oh, you know what that means.
Will knows and we don't.
Okay, you want to answer, Charlotte?
I can't. I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't know.
You have to answer it as a question.
Oh.
Who is?
Who is? Oh, I forgot what you said.
Tell her.
Matthias.
Matthias. That's it.
Matthias.
Matthias or Matthias.
Give one for Charlie.
Yeah, we'll give you that.
Charlie. Charlie.
Charlie was my nickname.
Oh, was it?
Well,
Okay.
When I was
okay.
growing up.
All right.
Yeah, no, Charlie.
Okay, question number 2. This one's easy. Or it's listed as easy. What book in the Bible comes right after... No, I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that question. I read it wrong. The book of Ruth comes after what book in the Bible?
I don't have an idea. Do you?
No.
Now, I've never been one to really be able to memorize those books, so
It was Judges.
Judges.
Joshua, Judges.
By the way, some people think that the Bible is written in chronological order, but it's not.
No.
It is not in chronological order.
And that's to me, that's what makes probably
Yeah.
the hardest part to understand
Yeah.
is that it's not in chronological
Yeah.
order. But there are some Bibles out there that have the commentary that
Yeah.
is in chronological order.
And in the
Makes it
sense of
easy.
it starts in the origin of Genesis and ends up at the 400 years of silence with Malachi. In that respect, it goes from A to Z, but the books are not in chronological
Right.
order.
Okay, and that one was listed as easy. So here's one that's listed as hard. This is question number 3. Who was exempt from Joseph's law in which a fifth of the food produced belonged to Pharaoh? It's a title of a person. Who was exempt from having to give a fifth of the food produced to Pharaoh?
Well, I would have to again take a shot in the dark.
Okay,
I would have to say the priest.
yeah, you're a good shot.
Is that it?
That's it. It was
Okay.
priest.
Okay.
And that's from Genesis chapter 47, if anybody wants to look that up. Okay, question number 4. This is the final question. Unfortunately, this was listed as hard too. And this is in the book of Hebrews. What is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen?
Tell her.
I didn't hear.
Faith.
Yes.
What is faith?
Yay! All right. All right. That's good. All right.
And now abideth these three, faith, hope, and charity.
charity.
And the greatest of these is charity. Is that the lady from the funeral home at the door? I don't know.
Hold on just a
I
second.
thought it was, but I think she's gone.
Just a moment.
She's just moved
Oh.
right there. I
Oh.
think she's picking up
Shirley.
her phone to call.
Ask Shirley if she can open the door. They're bringing us some.
Hey, Shirley.
Hey,
Will you let her in? She's from the funeral home.
how does the door open? Do you just open it?
Yeah, there's a little lock on the top that slides over to the right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then we'll be done. in
Tell her
just
we'll
a
be
moment.
there in 1 minute. I thought we were going to get back to
We were
it.
close. Welcome
We
to
were
Shades
close.
of Grace.
Yes.
Yes. And thank you to Shirley for
Answering the phone.
door, yes, and answering the phone and helping us out. And Grady, you know, I'm going to say this. Grady, he's known me for a while now. He knows the Will and Jimmy show, but you know he still calls me Tommy. He does. And if you watch the funeral service video from Saturday, right before it was over, he walks up to me, and I'm still recording. I'm trying to.
Oh, I heard that.
Shoot up. He said, "Hey, Tommy, don't you be chasing them wild women around."
I heard that so clearly at the end
I
of the
was
video.
thankful that my name's not Tommy. And
Char heard it, and she said,
I said, oh boy,
At
he's going to
least
be in
when
trouble
at
with
least
Shirley.
when his wife sees that, she won't know he's talking to him.
that's right.
Yeah.
She knows now.
Now she knows.
Well, everybody, God bless you. I'm going to run out of here and meet the funeral home before they come and pick me up.
All right. Good night.
Bye, everybody. Bye.
Thank you, Charlotte Penny. Have a
Our
safe
pleasure.
trip home.
Thank you. Our pleasure.